Viewer discretion is definitely advised because this is going to be a heavy topic and it's kind of disturbing, but it's also something I feel is worth saying, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't feel like there was some educational value in it. And that is the term incel. I have this theory and this belief that the people who use terms like incel are pedophiles, or at least pedophile enablers. And this has been going on for a while now because, firstly, I don't believe anybody is involuntarily celibate. You know what I'm saying? There is a glory hole about a mile walk down from where I'm sitting right now, where if I just stuck my little Peter through the window, anybody, anybody could get laid, you know? It's not that hard. It's not like you have to take someone out to dinner even. It's completely legal and free to do right down the street. You know? I mean, I might have to wait a couple of minutes for someone to receive me, but I would never do that because it's dirty and it's gross. But when people use the term incel, I'm like, how can anyone possibly be involuntarily celibate when, something like a glory hole exists throughout the entire world, you know? It just doesn't make sense, especially given that prostitution is one of the oldest careers or professions in history. I've never paid for sex, and I never will. I've never gone to the glory hole, and I never will. I'm looking for a meaningful relationship, but I still have a hard time believing that anybody could be involuntarily celibate. It feels like, every couple of years, a new generic insult finds its way into the mainstream. And that's to me what it feels like incel is. Back in 2016, everyone was a cuck. And now everyone you don't like is an incel. It's just a term toxic, like internet celebrities use to describe someone they don't like. They don't really know the definition of the word or why they're calling it. They just need an insult, a placeholder insult that they can call someone that their fans can be like, ha, yeah. It's there's really no meaning or value to the word because there's nobody is involuntarily celibate. I refuse to believe that. And the people that use the term incel to me, I have noticed are pedophiles or pedophile enablers. The biggest offender being my stalker, Tiffany. She created a whole Twitter account called Robin the Incel or something like that. The erotomaniac incel is what she called me. Which is funny because she called me on the phone one day and admitted to me that she suffered from erotomania, but that's a story for a whole nother video. She made a page dedicated to me that she was an insult. She made a page dedicated to me calling me an incel. And I thought that was... it's just like, why? Why? Because I reported Belle Delphine to the FBI for illicitly taking down my opinions? I'm an incel? I don't get it. But this woman, Tiffany, is like, a self-proclaimed pedophile. She was posting child abuse material openly to her Twitter, which I reported, and for some reason didn't get taken down, and she didn't get arrested either. But under the FBI's current administration, it's not hard for me to believe that the FBI is allowing child abuse to happen when the Epstein files still haven't been released, even after Charlie Kirk's assassination, where he was pleading for the Epstein files to be released, which is a whole nother video in itself that I'm probably never going to make. But there's a lot of neglect of child abuse coming from law enforcement in this day and age, and it makes me really sad. Another person that uses incel a lot is Belle Delphine herself. She throws around the term like a greeting, she calls people incels. She's also been banned from reports I've made for child abuse, Saying Belle Delphine is a pedophile isn't an opinion that is solely held by myself, When I report her for child abuse and she gets taken down for child abuse, it's safe to say that's a pedophile, That's not defamation of her character. There's some solidified reasoning behind why I'm making this assumption. So she's using the term incel in regards to people that find her content to be pedophilia and having it taken down because she's a pedophile. And then there's bigger names, people that are friends of Belle Delphine also throwing the term incel around like candy. There's Asmongold, who is a big fan and friend of Belle Delphine. And if I don't want to say anything about him because there's no solid proof there that he's a pedophile or anything like that, but he is very closely associated with people who are getting taken down for child abuse material. You know, birds of a feather, right? Then there's also Moist Critical, who's close friends with Belle Delphine, and he uses the term incel quite a bit too. You know, there's just a pattern I'm noticing here where people who are condoning child abuse material, if you condone Belle Delphine, you're condoning child abuse material. I'm not going to debate you on that. That's what you're doing. Um, there's just a clear pattern here of people that condone child abuse material using the term incel to describe people that go against their pedophilia. And it's becoming to the point where the term incel is becoming a compliment from these people. Because if someone I suspect as being a pedophile or know is a pedophile is calling me an incel, what they are saying is, I definitely don't believe you abuse children. And you're right. I've never abused a child and I never will. And if you call me an incel, you're telling me I don't think you abuse children. And I mean, it's all about perspective, right? So when I get called an incel next time, I'm going to take it as a compliment because what you're telling me is that you believe that I have never harmed a child, you know? And the people that are harming the children are the ones going around throwing the term. So in a TLDR or a too long didn't watch, if you call me an incel, you are telling me that I have never hurt a child, and I'm taking that as a compliment.